What's up, guys? I just want to make a quick video talking about air travel, flying, uh, uh, airlines, you know, uh, just basically traveling at the airport these days and taking flights and stuff like that. This year was one of my busiest years for flying. So basically, the start of the year, I was doing kind of weekend trips to Vegas, kind of stuff like that. Because I was pretty over kind of my apartment and things like that. And then move into the spring, and I did this like sabbatical thing in Europe, also flying. Europe's really far from SoCal, so a lot of flights to get to areas there. And I did two countries, so in Europe. So I did take some kind of puddle jumper type things there. Then, summer hits. Uh, Um, I'm visiting family. I have some health issues. And then I am flying back to my apartment in San Diego, and I'm moving back to the East Coast and kind of stuff like that. So just tons of flying. Um, and it's just been, and I'm not the only one that sees this too. And I had to fly in May. My last minute, my job made me fly from San Diego to New York City. So that was another trip in there too. So just tons of travel this year, tons of airtime, stuff like that. And it's just been, well, first thing I want to talk about, it's just been brutal in terms of so many delays, two or three cancellations. And you'll have people that'll just point you to some empirical data websites and stuff like that, saying no, you're just so wrong because flights are only delayed. It's rare, very low percentage of the time. But I'm not the only one experiencing this. I know a lot of people that have been experiencing this. You go to the airport, your flight's delayed. I just talked to somebody the other day. They were in San Diego, not the other day, but 2 weeks ago. They were in San Diego flying to see family in San Francisco, and their flight was delayed 6 hours. So it's happening more and more and more. It's always disrupted. So this year, let's see, a big flight of mine for my vacation sabbatical thing to Europe that happened in early May. So anyway, I get to the airport. It's supposed to be 1 p.m. Literally it's boarding, like 25% of the people boarded. I get up there, I hand them my passport, and then they get on the announcement and they say, the flight is canceled today, because of, something broke. I forget what they said, something broke. This time they didn't try to hide it. It was all on them. Something broke, something's canceled, or the whole flight's canceled. So we're all sitting there trying to figure out what to do. We go to the front desk and try to ask them. Of course, the agents there, they're just like, oh, I don't know, sir. Call this, call that. So then I'm on the phone 2 hours trying to call them. Eventually, they reroute me to British Airways. And then I'm flying to British Airways now. But that was 8 hours later, where I took British Airways to where I was rerouted to my destination via British Airways. So that was 8 hours. I just had to be at the airport, bullshitted at the airport, spending money at the airport. 4 hours into it, we get an email saying that they're going to send us meal vouchers. And I forgot what it was. It was like $80 or something like that. But of course, they send it 4 hours before my flight. So I've already spent out of pocket like a lot of money at the airport eating and stuff like that. So what I did is I went on Reddit and I found people said, just go ahead and stuff that money in your Starbucks app. So I did that, and that worked. Needless to say, that was just a huge pain in the ass. It was 8 hours at the airport. I got to the airport early, setting alarms. I had to pack in the morning. Like, it would have been great to just sleep in had I known that, right? So there's one incident. And then when I had to fly to New York City for work, that was with United. I show up at the air. That was a really early one, like 6 a.m., 6:30 or something. I show up to San Airport. I go up, try to do the check-in on kiosk. The kiosk says, flight canceled. Just straight up, flight canceled. I'm like, oh, fuck. In hindsight, I should have just not went. That would have been a great, I mean, pretty legitimate. But anyway, I'm my dumbass. I go to the, I didn't want to go anyway. But anyway, so I go to the front desk and I asked the guy, and of course he's like, oh, wow, yeah. Oh, there were some weather patterns, so we just had to cancel it. But yeah, let me go ahead and route you to L.A. And then once you're in L.A., we'll go ahead and route you to to New York. So basically, I did that. But now I have a connection. Before it was a straight flight. So now I have to wait in San Diego airport, bullshit for a couple hours, spending like $38 on lattes or whatever the fuck, just sitting there. And then, yeah, and then I'm take the little puddle jumper to LAX. LAX is a madhouse now. I go to newsstand and spend like, $90 on a sparkling water. And then I get in line, huge clusterfuck. Oh, it wasn't even guaranteed. Oh yeah, it was like I was a wait list on this one with a 1 hour delay, or with a 1 hour layover. I was waitlisted on this flight. If somebody canceled, so I was on the board. If somebody canceled, then I would have been able to get that spot on United to then go to New York City. But if nobody canceled, then I'd have to wait another 4 hours at LAX before going to New York City. Luckily, somebody did cancel. My name on the board was like second, and the person in front of me and me got in there. And then that's what she said. And then so yeah, then that's that trip. Another trip. I mean, just endless. Yeah, British Airways, second segment of my Europe thing. We land in London Gatwick, because this is my new flight since my WestJet flight. That was WestJet, the Canadian carrier that was canceled as I was handing him the boarding pass. And then I had to wait 8 hours in the airport. So now I'm on British Airways doing an overnight thing. After waiting 8 hours at the airport, I got like $80 in my Starbucks app now. Then I fly to London Gatwick. I have like a 40-minute layover. I'm running across Gatwick. That airport's packed, sweating. My terminal is at the other end. I have to do this kind of like Europe thing where, just different types of layouts where I kind of have to seemingly exit the country into, a new area of the airport and stuff like that. But anyway, run all the way across the airport. The terminal's changed. Run all the way across the other side of the airport with all my baggage. And then get there. The second segment is British Airways as well to Barcelona. That was canceled, or not canceled, sorry. That was delayed 30 minutes. Then we get on there, and then, land in Barcelona. And then, of course, they hop on the microphone and they say, oh, we're 40-minute, we don't have a position to park, so we had to sit kind of idle for 40 minutes. So that was that trip. I mean, it's just like endless stories. And, people that I talk to all the time are having similar experiences, nonstop delays, but somehow the empirical, the website's empirical data that's published says, oh, no, everything's great. It's the same as always. It's, very rare. And that's just your silly little anecdotes. It's like my numerous silly little anecdotes, and a lot of people, tons of people that I talk to. So it's just, and then even this flight with Alaska, treated like garbage by the front desk staff, even though I paid an exuberant amount for this flight, and they railed me on a handbag. I don't even want to talk about the amount because it's just maddening. That I just didn't have time to stuff into another bag, and I just got pulverized with the fee on that. Besides the point. Anyway, so on the flight, and we get to DCA. DCA is what was I going to say? No, IED. We get to IED. Well, we're 1 hour out of IED. He hops on the microphone. He goes, oh, well, it looks like the airport's been closed. IED is closed currently. Guys, so what we're going to do here, because there's some, weather patterns, of course, now everything's weather now because they don't want to be liable. there's some weather patterns. So, we can't land now. The airport's closed. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hover and do circles around the airport till it reopens and we get the okay to land. Like, what? Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously that's pretty freaky. Luckily there was no turbulence during all this, but like I've never heard that in my life, and I've traveled a ton. So it's like, is he gonna run out of fuel? Like what that, like I've never heard of this, but so that's what just happened there. Um, yeah, and then as far as just like airlines and stuff like that, I think I've almost gone full circle. When I initially got the travel bug in my late teens, early 20s, I would obviously take the cheapest flight, like Spirit Airlines or some low cost carrier, Frontier, AT&T, whatever, whatever gets me to point A to point B. Then I got older and I started seeking out kind of middle tier, and then kind of my early 30s, I joined a Delta status program, and I had some status with Delta, and I did that for a while, and it's just basically year after year, like the higher status you get, it gets diluted. Delta each year dilutes their status for members every year. So basically, the higher you get, then your benefits go down. So basically, that is not worth it at all unless you maintain the highest tier at all times, because it was constantly diluted. Priority boarding, they rearranged how that's put together. So the last status flight I had with Delta, it basically, yeah, I had priority boarding. I was supposed to in a Comfort Plus seat, which is right behind the first class, and I was supposed to have priority boarding, but the way that they shuffled everything around, priority boarding for starts at group 5. So basically, there is no priority boarding anymore because groups 1 to 4 boarded the plane, and a person behind me that wasn't in Comfort Plus, because Comfort Plus stops at a certain seat. I got in there at group 5, which was supposed to be my alleged benefit of priority boarding, because I guess it's priority in relation to other segments of the plane or whatever. But anyway, so my quote unquote priority boarding, I went in, and I put my bag up there, and the person behind me that was non-Comfort Plus was already on the plane, and I had little bin space on top. So, diluted benefit didn't exist, and that was happening year after year. Also, Delta, they're not that great anymore because you have to take connectors everywhere with Delta. So Delta, the 2 cities I was using when I was status with Delta, that I was doing the most was Richmond, Virginia, and San Diego, California. So, and they made it to the point with Delta, you almost always have to connect, like connectors everywhere. San Diego, you got to fly to LA first, and then to blah, blah, blah. Even this trip that I just took, I was trying to use some Delta points, but there was no connect flight. Once again, San Diego, even to DC, San Diego to DC should have been the easiest Delta route, but instead you have to, I forgot what they had listed there, but it's often LA now. Like you have to, like San Diego, you have to go to LA, and then, which is just a huge pain in the ass, because then you have to get up, take your bag out, do the whole thing where you're waiting at the gate, you're waiting to deboard, you're waiting to board again. You got to do the takeoff, all that, just everything again, basically. And then you have that time in the airport where you're just, buying like $50 egg rolls and heat lamp bullshit while you're just walking around. The airport's basically like a huge expensive mall, So if you have a huge layover, and no food on you, so anyway, Delta wasn't great anymore. So just constant. So I've almost gone back full circle. Obviously, there's flights I will never take, or airlines I will never take, such as Spirit, such as American. 2 really, really bad ones. Obviously, I think most people know that. But in regards to, I do have to go back to SoCal at some point. It's probably going to be next year. But as far as airlines, I'm no longer gonna sit there and try to seek, oh, let me do like a Delta Comfort Plus, or let me do like an Alaska one, and because they're just not worth it anymore. So I think I've gone full circle where I will just take. I've had really good experiences on Frontier. Um, I will just take a Frontier low cost carrier, and then do like a seat upgrade there, um, because the previously better, nicer ones, they can't really deliver anymore. So it's not really worth paying the extra couple hundred, in my opinion, or whatever it is, to get an Alaska flight or a Delta Comfort. They're all flying is just all feels like you're taking the Greyhound these days. No matter what you pay, like you go to the airport, go to the counter, you can pay a $2,000 ticket, go to the counter, you're just screamed at like you're like you're jumping on a Flixbus from fucking the Bronx to DC or something. That's how you're treated, no matter what. In my experience in the U.S. domestically, so it's not really worth paying those fees. Obviously, like I said, I won't take a Spirit because they're really bad. They'll leave you, you know, yeah, I still would not take a Spirit. Definitely not a Spirit with a connection, because they'll just leave you in the middle of nowhere, and you can't do anything. There's no customer support. And then American Airlines is just right there above Spirit, but not by much. They're really, really bad and expensive. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm not really going to go that route. I'll just go what's cheapest, and if Frontier would be okay, Southwest, Delta's still okay, but it's not worth pursuing any status with them, because you know, they don't give you much. They dilute that. They fuck with you all the time with that. So, and then what else is okay? Hawaiian Airlines is okay. But yeah, I'm no longer, kind of gonna shoot for the quote unquote previously nice airlines, because they're really not nice anymore. They're all kind of handled the same way. So Frontier, totally fine. And just kind of gonna full circle on kind of how I look at it. Kind of like, with just going the cheapest, as long as it's not Spirit or AA, I'm fine. But and then yeah, what else? And then yeah, so that's this U.S. domestic flying, airlines, airports, stuff like that. But then in Europe, like TAP Portugal is great. They're so it's just like night and day. All this is kind of me talking about domestic U.S. airlines. Yeah, Mexico too. Not bad. Aero Mexico's great. Even some of the Aero buses, Viva Aerobus, again, it's like our Frontier. So yeah, ultimately, down with Frontier, down with cheap flights that aren't anything but Spirit or AA. And then, there's no longer kind of any other tier really, unless you're like, always top, first class MVP, you maintain that, and that's the only way it's going to be different, I think, in the States. But yeah, so